Smoke filled the sky. Fire burned across the battlefield. Captain Raynor stood on the edge of the broken wall, holding his rifle tight. His armor was scratched, his face covered in dust. He looked down at the ruined city of Virix 9. "This is it," he whispered. The evacuation ship was leaving in 10 minutes. His team had already boarded. He stayed behind to check for any missing soldiers. The enemy, the alien race called the Virix, had almost wiped out the human base. He moved carefully through the rubble. Every step echoed. He could hear small explosions in the distance. The war was ending, but not in humanity's favor. They were losing. And fast. As Raynor turned the corner of a half-destroyed building, he suddenly heard something. A sound. Soft, high-pitched, almost like crying. He paused, raised his weapon, and stepped forward. Behind a pile of debris, in the shadow of a cracked pillar, something moved. He aimed. Step out slowly. But it wasn't a soldier or a threat. It was a child, a small alien child. Thin arms, gray-blue skin, big glowing eyes. It looked at him not with hate, but with fear. It was shaking, holding a piece of metal like a toy. Raynor froze. The child was Virix. The enemy, his orders were clear. No survivors. Leave nothing behind. But this was just a child. A scared, lonely child. She looked about 6 years old. Maybe less. Raynor slowly lowered his gun. The child didn't run. She just stared at him, her lip trembling. Dirt and blood covered her small face. "What are you doing here?" Raynor asked softly, as if she could understand. She didn't answer. She just sat still, silent tears falling from her eyes. Raynor checked his watch. Only 6 minutes left until takeoff. He looked back at the smoke rising in the distance. Drones were flying overhead. If they saw the child, they would fire. He knew what he had to do. He took off his helmet and knelt beside her. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't move. "I'm going to get you out of here." Still, no words. Just a quiet stare. Raynor gently reached out his hand. After a few seconds, the child slowly took it. Her hand was cold, fragile. She stood, leaning against him. Raynor lifted her up carefully and looked around. The extraction point was 1 block away, but it was risky. He moved quickly, staying low, avoiding open areas. The child stayed quiet, holding onto his armor tightly. Suddenly, a loud boom shook the ground. A drone had spotted them. Damn it! He ran. Buildings blurred as explosions followed behind. Dust and ash flew everywhere. They reached the edge of the landing zone. The evacuation ship's engines were roaring. The last soldiers were inside. Raynor waved, "One more." But as the ship commander saw the child in his arms, he shook his head. "Not happening. That's an alien. She's just a kid." Raynor shouted, "We can't risk it. Get in or stay here." Raynor looked down at the girl. She was holding his shoulder, her eyes full of trust. He looked back at the ship, then stepped away. "I'm staying." "What?" "I said I'm staying. Go." The ship commander hesitated. For a second, then the door closed. The engines roared louder, and the ship rose into the sky. Raynor watched as it disappeared into the clouds. Silence followed. Only the sound of fire and wind remained. Raynor sat down, breathing hard. The child climbed into his lap and leaned against his chest. He looked at the sky. He had no backup, no rescue. He was stuck on an enemy planet with the enemy's child. But somehow, he didn't feel regret. He looked at her and smiled. "We'll survive, I promise." She looked up. For the first time, she smiled too. Then, in a broken, soft voice, she said one word. "Papa?" Raynor blinked. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But in that moment, one thing was clear. This war wasn't over, but maybe something new had begun. The nights on Virix 9 were not quiet. They whispered. Strange winds passed through the broken towers, carrying sounds of things that should not move, but did. Captain Raynor opened his eyes slowly. He hadn't really slept. Not since the evacuation ship left him behind. Beside him, curled under his jacket, the alien child slept soundly. Her small chest rose and fell. She was warm now. Safe for the moment, Raynor sat up and checked his weapon. Only 2 power cells left. He looked at the sky through a crack in the ceiling. The stars above felt colder now. Further away, he wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a guardian. The place they hid in was once a human. Outpost now abandoned and half destroyed. Metal walls were cracked. Wires hung like vines. Every noise outside made him reach for his gun. The girl stirred. Raynor looked at her. "You hungry?" She nodded slowly. He reached into his bag, pulled out a protein bar, and broke it in half. He gave her the smaller piece. She sniffed it, unsure, but then took a bite. Her face lit up like it was the first real food in days. He smiled. "It's not much, but it's better than dirt." She tried to repeat the word. "Food." Raynor's eyes widened. "You can talk?" She pointed to herself. "Kiri." He blinked. "Kiri, that your name?" She nodded. He pointed at himself. "Raynor. Raynor." They sat in silence for a moment. 2 beings from opposite worlds, sharing dry food in a ruined bunker. Suddenly, a sound echoed nearby, metal scraping, something heavy moving. Raynor grabbed his gun and motioned for Kiri to hide behind a fallen cabinet. He peeked out. 3 shadows moved through the hallway, tall, insect-like, Vyrek soldiers. They carried energy spears, scanning the rooms, looking for something. Or someone. Raynor aimed his gun, finger on the trigger, but Kiri stepped forward, not in fear, but in recognition. She walked into the open and let out a strange call. A soft clicking sound like a bird, followed by one word, "Narish." One of the soldiers turned and dropped his weapon. He fell to his knees. The others followed. Raynor stood up slowly, confused. "What's going on?" He whispered. One of the Vyrek soldiers stepped forward, then bowed low in front of Kiri. Raynor lowered his gun, but kept his guard up. The lead alien looked at him and spoke in broken English. "You protect royal blood." Raynor's mind raced. "Royal? What do you mean?" The alien soldier pointed to Kiri. "She is daughter of Queen Yalara, lost in battle. We searched. You kept her safe." Raynor looked at Kiri. She smiled softly, then held his hand. "I didn't know," he said quietly. I couldn't leave her." The Vyrek soldier nodded. "You saved our future." Raynor looked at the soldiers, then at the girl. No one moved to fight. No one raised a weapon. He took a breath. "Then take us somewhere safe." They moved through the ruins, now with guards on all sides. As they traveled, Kiri stayed close too. "Raynor." She didn't speak much, but she no longer looked afraid. The Vyreks led them underground, deep below the city, into ancient tunnels, filled with glowing crystals and strange symbols. A hidden place, secret, sacred. Inside, the air was warm, clean, silent. Raynor looked around. "You had all this, and still chose war?" One of the soldiers answered. "Humans attacked first, we defend." Raynor frowned. He had heard a different story back at base. Maybe everything he believed wasn't true. He sat down near a small fire. Kiri sat beside him and placed a hand on his arm. "You stay?" she asked in a soft voice. Raynor looked at her. "Do you want me to?" She nodded. He smiled again. "Then I'll stay." As the night grew deeper, Raynor leaned back against the wall and watched the child sleep. Kiri, daughter of the enemy. Now, daughter of his heart. He had fought in 5 wars. He had lost friends, family, hope. But this child, in the middle of all that death, had given him something back. Purpose. And somewhere in the darkness of Vyrek's 9, something greater was waking. Something that would change both their worlds forever. The walls breathed. Raynor didn't know how else to describe it. The underground chamber wasn't just built, it was alive. Soft blue light glowed from the roots in the ceiling. The stone floor hummed quietly under his boots, like a sleeping beast below the surface. Everything around him whispered of age, memory, and power. Kiri walked ahead, small feet echoing against ancient stone. She looked calm here. At home, Raynor followed, feeling like a ghost in a sacred place. 2 large Virex guards stood at the end of the hallway. They stepped aside without a word as the giant doors opened. The room beyond was vast. The ceiling arched, like the inside of a cathedral. Floating lights hovered in the air. The walls were covered in glowing patterns that shifted and moved like ink and water. And there, at the center, stood a tall figure. Her skin was silver blue. Her eyes glowed like 2 suns underwater. Her long robe flowed like liquid shadow. She was not armed. She didn't need to be. Queen Yalara. Raynor had seen her image on military screens, labeled as the leader of the enemy. A ruthless alien mind, a warlord. But what he saw now was something else. She wasn't angry. She wasn't afraid. She was a mother. The queen stepped forward slowly. Her voice came not from her mouth, but inside his head. Smooth, calm, deep as the stars. You are the one who held my daughter in the fire. Raynor's breath caught. He looked down at Kiri. She looked up at him and smiled. He nodded. I didn't know who she was. I just knew she needed help. The queen's glowing eyes softened. And you gave it, while your kind destroyed everything around her. Raynor clenched his jaw. I didn't start this war. No, but you chose not to finish it. A long silence. Kiri walked between them, holding Raynor's hand with one and reaching out to her mother with the other. The queen knelt to her daughter's level. They touched foreheads. Raynor looked away, feeling like he was watching something too private, too sacred. She speaks of you, the queen said, standing again. Of how you wrapped her in your jacket. Of how you let her call you father. Raynor's voice was quiet. She asked, I didn't stop her. Would you still protect her if I were not here? He didn't hesitate. Yes. Would you protect her from your own people? That took longer, but finally he said, yes. The queen raised a hand. A large screen formed in the air made of floating particles. It showed the Earth fleet. Human warships gathering near. Virex space, preparing for something big. They believe you are dead. But they also detected her life signal. They are coming to erase what they don't understand. Raynor watched the blinking dots on the map. Ships, weapons, death. They will not ask questions, the queen said. They will only fire. Raynor turned to her. Then we stop them. We? He looked at Kiri. Your daughter is not the only one who needs protecting now. That night, Raynor stood at the edge of the alien city's highest tower. Lights moved across the horizon. Drones. Patrols. The war hadn't ended. But something had changed. In just a few days, he had gone from soldier to protector to something else entirely. Behind him, the queen approached. She calls you father. He nodded. I know. She never said that word before. Silence. Would you consider staying? Raynor turned. I already have. The queen smiled faintly. Not with her lips, but with her eyes. And for the first time, the planet of Virex 9 did not feel like the enemy's world. It felt like the beginning of something new. Asterisk. Raynor stood inside a room made of light. No walls. No floor. Just stars and memory. A crystal was in front of him, floating, glowing. Touch it, said Queen Yalara's voice. And see what we saw. He hesitated. His human instincts screamed no, this could be a trick. But his heart? It remembered. Kiri's small hand in his. It remembered the way she had smiled when she said, Papa. So he reached out and touched the crystal, and everything changed. The vision hit like a storm. He saw Earth's first ship arriving in Vyrix space, not peaceful. But armed. He saw Vyrix messengers try to communicate, shot down. He saw cities burned, families crying. Soldiers like him being trained to hate what they didn't understand. He saw the first Vyrix queen die begging for mercy. Raynor stepped back, breath heavy. No, that's not what we were told. The queen appeared beside him. Not in armor, not like a ruler, just a mother. Your leaders needed an enemy to unite your people. They chose us. Raynor shook his head. That can't be. We were told you struck first. Lies spoken loud often sound like truth. He looked down. The floor turned back to solid ground. The vision faded, but it stayed inside him like fire. Everything he fought for. Everything he believed. Broken. Later. Raynor sat near a soft pool where crystals grew like flowers. Kiri sat beside him, drawing symbols in the sand with her fingers. I was a soldier, he whispered. But I never saw what I was really fighting. Kiri looked up. You still fight for good. He smiled sadly. I don't know what side that is anymore. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Deep, echoing. Red light filled the chamber. A Vyrix guard rushed in, his voice sharp. Human warships entered orbit. Weapons are locked. Raynor stood up. What? Already? The queen entered, calm but serious. Your people have found you. They believe I have captured you. Raynor clenched his fists. They'll fire and kill everyone, Kiri too. Yes. Raynor's mind raced. He knew the protocols. Once a target was confirmed hostile. Earthships didn't wait. And if they knew Kiri's signal was alien, they'd wipe the city off the map. He looked at the queen. I need to contact them. Let me on their frequency. The queen shook her head. They will not listen. They will see you and think you are brainwashed or turned. Raynor stepped forward. Let me try. Within minutes, Raynor stood on a raised platform. A Vyrix device was connected to his voice. The queen gave him a coded signal that Earthships could hear. Transmission ready, a voice said. Raynor took a breath. Then spoke. This is Captain Raynor. Serial 501KX, Earth Forces, Echo Division. I am alive. I am unharmed. I am here by choice. The child I saved is not a threat. She is a life, a soul. If you attack, you do not just destroy the enemy, you destroy what makes us human. He paused. I'm not your enemy. But if you come for her. He looked at Kiri, watching from the shadows. You'll have to come through me first. Silence followed. Only static. Then a cold reply. Captain Raynor, you are now marked as compromised. Extraction denied. Termination approved. Raynor's eyes went cold. They're going to bomb the city. The queen nodded slowly. Then you must choose, Raynor. Stay here and fight. Or run. He looked at Kiri. She reached for his hand. I'm done running. As the night fell, the sky above Vyrix 9 filled with fire. Raynor suited up again, not as a soldier of Earth, but as a protector of something. More. Not a flag, not a command, but a child who trusted him, and a truth that needed defending. One word lit up the screen inside the human warship. Target. Raynor status. Compromised mission. Neutralize. I immediately out. Commander Alessia stared at the flashing alert. Her jaw tightened. He was one of our best. A cold voice replied through the speaker. Now he's a threat. Down on Vyrix 9. Raynor ran through fire. The skies above the alien city were glowing red with human rage. Missiles had launched. He had 12 minutes before the first one hit. Beside him, Kiri clung to his side. The Vyrix queen walked with them, calm but silent, her robe flowing like smoke. Raynor's voice was low but firm. I need to get up there. The queen nodded. We have a way. Behind a locked chamber in the city's core, something ancient hummed. A ship, not alien. Not human. Hybrid. Built from crashed Earth tech and Vyrix crystal. Meant for one pilot, You can fly this? The Queen asked. Raynor stepped inside the cockpit. The controls lit up in blue and gold. His hands knew what to do, even if his heart didn't. I'll stop them, he said. Even if it's the last thing I do. Kiri's small hand touched his leg. Come back, she said quietly. Raynor gave a small, broken smile. I'll try. The ship launched like a silent bullet, vanishing into the clouds above. Inside the Earth warship, alarm screamed. Unknown craft incoming. Signature, part human? Wait, it's him. It's Raynor. Commander Alicia's eyes narrowed. Open all fire. He does not make it here alive. Raynor dodged plasma shots. Bright light cut through space like blades. Come on, he muttered. Just one clean path. His fingers danced over controls. His body remembered drills from training. His mind remembered Kiri's laugh. He dived, rolled, accelerated. And then dash impact. Not from fire, but from a hard dock. He had made it. He stood in the airlock, weapon in hand. The halls of the warship were colder than he remembered. Gray, empty, familiar but wrong. Soldiers appeared. They raised weapons. Captain Raynor, stand down. I'm here to stop a genocide. He shouted. They fired. Raynor rolled, ducked, fired stun rounds. He didn't shoot to kill. He never aimed at the heart. His goal wasn't blood. It was the bridge. He reached the main command deck. Commander Alicia turned, gun in hand. Raynor raised his empty palms. Don't do this. You're a traitor. She spat. Siding with monsters. They're not monsters. They're mothers, children. They're people. They killed ours first. No, Raynor said. We did. He pressed a small crystal to the console. It glowed. A message filled every screen in the ship. A message from the Queen. The real history. The truth. The silence was loud. Alicia's hands shook. You expect me to believe this? Raynor stepped closer. I expect you to stop lying to yourself. She stared at him. Her finger hovered over the launch code. Then she turned and disabled it. Missiles paused in orbit. The countdown stopped. And for the first time in hours, Raynor breathed. Later, he stood by a window in the ship. Below, the alien city still stood. Beside him, Alicia watched. Quietly. So, what now? Raynor didn't answer right away. Then he said, now we talk, really talk, before we lose everything. But far away, another ship was watching, listening. Not Virex. Not Earth. Something else. Something that had waited in the dark, for this very moment. Asterisk space watched him. Not the stars. Not the Earth ships. Not even the Virex, but something older. Raynor stood alone on the outer hull of the human warship, tethered only by a thin line of steel and a voice in his ear. The galaxy was quiet here. Too quiet. Behind him, the crew waited. Some angry, some afraid. None sure which side he belonged to anymore. Below him, Virex 9 glowed like a dying ember. Above, the fleet floated in attack formation. And somewhere beyond both, a new signal had appeared, unidentified, silent, watching. Inside the command deck, alarms started to scream. New contact Sector 8. No human or Virex code. It's massive. Raynor turned. The stars blinked out, one by one, as something colossal moved into view. Not built. Not grown. Awakened. A ship the size of a moon. Covered in armor that looked like bone. Glowing with red light. Kiri's voice crackled through the coms from the alien capital below. Papa, something's coming, Raynor whispered back. I see it. Queen Yalara appeared on a shared transmission screen. It is not ours, she said. It is older than both our species. Then what is it? Alicia asked. The Queen's voice lowered. A collector of endings. A harsh, cold signal struck all ships. A voice followed machine, yet ancient, spoken in 100 languages at once. You reached peace too late. We come to restart the cycle. All corrupted civilizations must be reset. Raynor clenched his fists. They're here, to erase us both. Back on the human bridge, chaos spread. Orders flew. Weapons charged. Target the new ship. Call reinforcements. Raise shields. Raynor stepped forward. Stop. They turned to him. This is what they've been waiting for. War, panic, fear. If we fight like this, we lose everything. Alicia stared at him. Then what do you suggest, Captain? Raynor looked at the silent enemy ship. I talk. Within minutes he was in a Vyrix transport, flying toward the unknown vessel alone. Not even the Queen joined him, only his voice, only his belief. In peace. In people, in her Kiri. He landed in a chamber made of black stone and floating tubes. No life, no sound, then a voice. Why do you delay the reset? He stood tall. Because we're not the same as before. All organic life ends in violence. You proved this. You warred. Raynor raised his hand. A small hala appeared. It showed him protecting Kiri, feeding her, standing beside her mother, stopping the missiles. I chose something different. Silence. Then one choice does not rewrite history. You are one soldier. Raynor stepped forward. Then maybe that's all it takes. On Earth's warship, the crew watched the feed with frozen breath. On Vyrix 9, the Queen stood beside Kiri, holding her daughter's hand. Above them, the giant ship paused. The red lights dimmed. Then flickered. Raynor looked up. You don't need to erase us. Just watch, we'll prove you wrong. Another long silence. Then the machine voice spoke softer now. We will return. Do not disappoint. The great ship turned and vanished into the stars. Back on the bridge, Alicia looked at Raynor as he returned. No words. Just a slow, uncertain nod. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a wall between two wars, and peace had chosen to stand. Behind him, asterisk statues weren't made of stone anymore. Now they were made of light, and this one floated in the heart of two galaxies, a glowing image. A man in battered armor, kneeling, his hand reaching out, not with a weapon, but with open fingers. At his side stood a small alien child, her hand in his. Above them, no flags. Only a single word written in two languages, hope. Years had passed since Vyrix 9 almost burned, but people still spoke of it like it was yesterday. They told the story of a soldier who refused to follow orders, a human who shielded the child of his enemy, a man who stood alone between war and peace, and made the stars listen. Raynor sat under a violet tree on Vyrix 9, now rebuilt with stone and crystal. Kiri ran circles around him, laughing with other children, Vyrix and human. He smiled. He wore no armor now. No badge, just quiet eyes. And a scar across his cheek. Queen Yalara approached slowly. She wore white robes now, not war robes. She talks about you all the time, she said. Raynor glanced at Kiri. She still calls me Papa, the Queen nodded. You earned it. Ships came and went now from the rebuilt port above the city, not to fight, but to trade, to learn, to connect. The treaty signed by Earth and the Vyrix was named after him, the Raynor Accord. Some people loved him for it. Others called him a traitor who got lucky. Raynor didn't care. He hadn't done it for medals. He did it for one life. And that life changed many. One night, he recorded a message, not for leaders, not for war rooms, just for whoever came next. He spoke simply like always. I was a soldier once, trained to shoot first and ask nothing. Then I met a child scared alone and from the wrong side. I didn't see her skin or her species. I saw her tears. And I decided, war can wait. If you're hearing this, maybe you're in a battle too. Maybe it's not with guns, but with fear or lies. If you remember one thing, remember this. He looked into the camera. It only takes one person to break the pattern. One hand, not raised in hate. One soldier, who chooses to protect, not destroy. And from that, whole galaxies can begin again. That message was played in schools, in stations, on moons where children didn't even know what Earth was. It didn't speak of victory. It spoke of courage. And that made it stronger than any weapon. Later that month, Kiri stood at a platform, now taller, wearing a peacekeeper's crest. She addressed a crowd of young recruits, both human and Vyrix. My father didn't win a war, he ended one. And in doing that, he gave me the chance to speak here today. You're not just soldiers now, you're watchers, listeners, protectors. Let no enemy scare you into forgetting your soul. She looked up at a hologram of Raynor, smiling faintly. He wasn't born a hero. He just made one good choice when it mattered most. And in the quiet places of the stars where old weapons slept and ancient watchers waited, no reset ever came, because one man had proved humanity was still learning, still growing, still worth saving. Asterisk.